Hi everyone, it's Lindsay. Welcome back to another video. Today I have another card to share with you that is made with the Clair Stamps new release. This is the brand new succulent frame stamp set. It is designed by me and I am so excited that it is for sale in the Clair Stamp shop. The link is going to be down in the description box below. Now until April 5th you can get 20% off this stamp set along with all the other new release stamp sets. And these come in both physical stamp form, clear stamp form, and they also come in digital stamp form. So I am using the digital stamp form, however, it is the exact same size that comes in the stamp set. So what you see that I'm doing here, you can absolutely do with the regular stamp set as well. If you are using a regular stamp set, what I would suggest is stamping that image with Memento Tuxedo Black ink, because I will be coloring with colored pencils and blending out with OMS. Now for my version, I went ahead and printed off with my laser printer and just plain black and white onto cardstock. Then I'm going to go ahead and color this up. I also die cut that with an oval die. All I do is line up my little oval die around my image, pop on some painter's tape. I use the low tack painter's tape. It's the purple kind. I will leave that link down below as well. And then I just run it through my die cut machine. So simple. Then all I need to do is start coloring. To color my images, I'm going very simple here. I'm just using my Prismacolors and also blending out with some OMS and Gamsol. Now I have said this several times in the past few videos because I have been coloring with my Prismas a lot recently, but I do have a video all about coloring pencils or colored pencils and OMS, that coloring technique. I will leave that linked in the top right hand corner. So for the little area around the frame, I use different colors of greens and a little bit of blue for those smaller berries. And then for the frame themselves, I'm going in with some very bright purples. Now I love the look of this just colored up as is, but I decided that it was still just a little bit too plain, even for me. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of ink blending to the inside of that frame. You can see it here in this photo. But what I needed to do was just to quickly mask off all that other area outside the image that I stamped or had digitally stamped. Now, because I used a laser printer, I didn't want that tape to stick to that printing and then incidentally kind of pull it up whenever I pulled the tape up. So I'm just going to go ahead and be very careful about where I line that tape up and just use paper. The straight edge on the paper is going to be perfect to mask off all those nice straight edges on this diamond shape. Now once I have that masked off, I'll bring in my Amazon blending brushes and quickly blend on some Salty Ocean ink. This is a mini distress ink cube. I like to start from the outside and work towards the inside, and I am keeping this super light. What it's going to end up looking like is a little bit like a mirror surface, which is so cool, I think. If you wanted to turn this into a mirror, you could use the blue like I'm using here. You could also use some gray, which would be really fun and neat too. Now, like I said, as I was going in and blending this, I didn't think it was going to end up looking like a mirror, but it did once I peeled up this masking paper. So I decided to go ahead and play that up even a little bit further and just add some white detailing around the edges. I'm using a jelly roll pen and just adding white dots and marks along the edge, nice straight marks, and that is going to give me that reflective look. It's a subtle way to add those little details in that really gives off the appearance of a reflective surface. And I like to keep mine towards the edge as well. Now it's kind of hard to see in the video, but I promise they are there, and these do darken up as they sit and dry. So here's a closer look at them on the photo. You can see them in much more detail there. While I was die cutting out my oval that had the stamped image on it, I also grabbed the oval die that is slightly larger than the one I used and die cut some craft paper. I wanted to add a little bit of a distressed edge to this matting layer, so I like to use my scissors. Now Tim Holtz has a distress tool that you can buy and use, but I like to keep my tools nice and simple, so I am just using my scissors to do this. All I do is take the blade and rub that blade edge along the side of the cardstock and just kind of rub it back and forth. It will dig in some places. That's okay. That's the look you're going for. And just rub it back and forth to kind of tear up those edges. This also gives me a lot of control about how much I distress, which I love too. Now, to give this even more of a distressed look, I'm taking my Vintage Photo mini distressing cube and just running it along those edges. Those parts where I really went in and dug in my scissors, those are going to pick up more ink, and it's going to soak into those kind of roughed up edges really, really well and distress the look of the cardstock even more. Now, to distress it even a little bit further, I'm going to bring in some of that distress ink and just ink blend it onto the edges of that oval using an Amazon blending brush. There's a closer look at the distress that you can see in this photo. I love this technique and the way it turns out on the cards I use it. I'm not much of a distress person. I find it really hard to make grungy, vintagey cards. I love the look of them, but they are not my forte. I struggle with them so much, but this is something I feel like I can do, just adding those little bits to my clean and simple cards. Now finally, I'm going to go ahead and pop a little bit of stenciling onto the card base. I'm using one of my favorite stencils. This is from the Crafter's Workshop, and it is titled Bricks, very fittingly. I'm adding a little bit of peeled paint, which is another distress ink color, with my mini ink blending tool. Now, the reason I'm using my mini ink blending tool and not my blending brushes is because the center of this is going to be covered up. So if I mess up at all, right in the center is where it's going to happen, where I start off blending, and it's going to be covered up. So I didn't worry so much. I just grabbed my ink blending tool, darker towards the center, lighter towards the edges. Then I went ahead and mounted both ovals onto each other and then popped them onto the card base with a little bit of foam adhesive. And that is it. That's the card with this new succulent frame stamp set. I hope you guys enjoy the stamp set and a way that you can use it as well. Now, there's a blog hop happening for Clair Stamp's new release. I will leave a link to that down below. Be sure you go over there and hop along. There are prizes to be won, so be sure to go over there. Thanks for watching today, and happy crafting, everyone.